Hi guys, it's Blackie and welcome back to the channel. Okay, today continuing in the Mastering the Canteen Cup Cooking series, we're going to make a meal. This is a real good filling meal on a cold day, and this is going to be called beef and rice. Now what we're going to be using is quick boiled rice, and we're going to be using a can of Hereford, and I'll show you this up close in a minute, roast beef. Now it tells you that this is a 12-ounce can. In actuality, what is in here is 7 ounces of meat and gravy. So we got to take that into account when we're looking at the capacity of our cup, because this will be like a half a canteen cup, or a little bit more actually, of actual beef and meat. Now there's two ways we can do this. One, we can make the rice and we can flavor the rice like we talked about. So this is one of those packages of instant rice. Now if I was doing a bush pot, I would do the entire package, especially if I was trying to feed 2. But I'm not, so I'm only going to use about half of this package to put into there. Otherwise it'll be too big once it swells up for the volume of the cup, and therefore it would burn on the bottom rather than cook. I've got to maintain a liquid that I can stir around. If it becomes too thick, it'll scorch and burn rather than heat up. See? So we're going to be using, and I'll show this up close in a minute, we're going to be using the Knorr, K-N-O-R-R, and it's beef bouillon. Same thing. You remember I talked about the chicken and the tomato. It's right next to it, and usually in the aisle where you get Spanish, Latino food, south of the border food, whatever you want to call it. You know, nowadays you never know what to say. When I was coming up, it was always the Mexican aisle, but that isn't true, because it's anybody from Central and South America, not just Mexico. But that's where those foods, the tortillas and stuff like the canned compinche and stuff like that, this is where that'll be, because it's sold, it's reading it's predominantly in Spanish, it's sold most of the time to the Spanish community. Okay, but that, I really like the flavor with these, and so I'm using these. Now I'm going to put one of these cubes into my canteen cup. How much water? Well, that's going to be a question, because you see, I have two choices here. I can either put the beef in first and heat it up, and then add the rice and water to it and bring it to a boil and do the rice. That's a lot of stirring. Or I can add the Knorr, I can put the rice in there, and I can bring the rice up to it's just about done, pour off any excess water, and then dump in the beef, and watching my heat very closely, regulating my heat on and off, I can then heat this up. This is fully cooked, and so that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to put on my rice, and I'm going to add flavor with this. Then, once this is done, I will shift to the beef. Alright, let me show you it up close. And please forgive the sounds in the background. Back over the hill, there's a county road, and they are working on a culvert over there. So you're going to hear beep, beep, beep as a road thing is backing up and stuff like that. Okay. Here is the bouillon we'll be using. And here is the beef we'll be using. This is a product out of Brazil, and it's really good. I like it because it's thick and it's got a lot of meat and a lot of gravy with it. Easy to adapt this to some other dish. So let me get my canteen up and boiling, and we'll come back with you. Okay, there is the cup with one bouillon in it, and it's sitting on the stove with the Trangia underneath it. Yes, I've got my stove turned upside down to put that Trangia in there for like a windscreen for the Trangia, so I can keep my handles of my canteen cup cool to grab, because I'm going to have to take this on and off several times, and I don't want those handles to get too hot to handle. Now yes, I could just grab it with a rag, but as you can see, it's starting to heat up, and once I get a good rolling boil, then I'll introduce the rice into it. Be back with that in just a minute. Okay, now we've got a good rolling boil. Now we're going to add the rice. Again, I'm not going to put this whole thing in because it's really going to be more beef than rice. The rice is acting as a filler. So I'm going to cut the bag in the corner like that so that I can save the rest of this rice for another meal. Now I'm going to add in, making sure I don't get directly over the flame coming off around that Trangia. Add in about just a little. There. That should be about right. Now, once you've added your rice to your bouillon water, make sure to give it a stir. Keep an eye on it. Now remember, right now the thermal currents in that water is going to keep it rolling. So you're not going to have to worry about it burning to the bottom. You might have to worry about it burning to the side because that heat, that flame licking up on it the way I got it sitting on there. So the front is doing it. This is uneven heating, and it's one of the things I want because you notice this front edge up here is a constant roll. I'm setting up a circulation like this where it's coming from this side of the cup, going across the bottom and then pulling up. That's keeping that whole thing rolling. See? Now I'm going to let this go for about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll check the rice and see what my rice is like. If it's tender, ready to go, in which case I will drain off any excess water, and then I will add in the beef and heat it up. But that's going to be an on and off. That's where my Trangia simmer ring will come in. I'm going to drop the simmer ring in there, and I'm going to drop it down. Instead of being wide open, I'm going to drop it down about that much. So I want the heat of the cup and the heat of the rice to help heat that meat, plus a little bit of flame to keep it rolling. Because once I dump that beef and gravy in there, it's almost a solid. I got to keep stirring it till it warms up fully. Okay? See, we got a good rolling boil now. And see how that bottom current is now rolling hard, 360. Now, it'll give that rice fully to tumble, fully to swell up. I don't have to worry about it sticking or burning because of that circulation in there. So I'm just going to let it run. Now's a good time for me to open up that can of beef and get it ready. And for that we're going to use the old Swiss Army knife right here. Turn that screen back around where I can see what's going on. So, let me open it up. Now if it was in the winter, it would not hurt to warm this can up a little bit before I opened it up, because it would probably congeal and be a solid mass like a hockey puck. So I have taken in the dead of winter and taken a can of meat or something like this and put it inside my jacket an hour or two before I was planning to eat, to let my body heat warm that can back up to at least, 70, 80 degrees. And so whatever I needed to pour out of there would pour and wouldn't just be a solid clump I had to dig out. That's what the beef looks like. It's big hunks of roast beef and gravy. So I'll set that right there. Now that's fully cooked. I could eat it right now if I wanted to. Alright. Now, making sure my handles ain't getting too hot. I'm going to readjust. See, I got a big old roaring flame. I'm going to cut down on the surface area by turning the cup this way. Make sure it balances. Make sure you ain't got something in the way like that water bottle that could cause you to mess up. Nothing is sadder than dumping out all your meal at the last minute. We just let her boil till it's good and done. Alright, I'll be back with you in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, now we're about to do everything fairly quickly. I'm going to set my canteen cup down. I'm then going to add my flame adjuster in there so that I can get my heat regulating down. Then I'm going to pour out the excess water. I'm going to pour in the beef, leaving enough water that I want about a 3/4 weight of full canteen cup of food, okay? But I still need room to stir so I don't slosh it out everywhere, okay? I don't want to waste my food by dumping it out. So therefore I'm going to make it work that way. I'll clean out the can, and then I'll return it back to the heat and start stirring it, okay? So, comes off. That goes on to regulate that down. Now I pour off excess water, leaving some water in there. Now I'm going to add the beef. You can see there's a lot of big hunks of beef. Man, look at that big hunk right there. On top of that hot rice. Now get all that gravy out of there. That's good stuff. And at this point, that's one of the advantages of this square little spatula. I'll go ahead and take my spoon out of there. It's at this point, see, I still got a little bit of water bubbling at the top. That's what I want to see. I'm going to go back up there, and I'm going to start stirring to get them to mix together good. In fact, I'm going to set it off over here and really mix it up, get that rice to come all the way to the top, just like that. Now all I'm doing is heating that beef up. So we got lower flame now. I'm going to leave it on there for 20, 25, 30 seconds. Then I'm going to take it off, stir it, put it back on. There's enough so you can see liquid right there. So it's going to transfer heat well. I don't have strictly a solid that would burn, and if it was just pure gravy and pure beef, it might burn on the bottom. I'm not giving it that opportunity. I've got too much water in it now, see? So it's got to transfer that heat. Water is my transfer medium. And I know that bottom cannot be over 212 because it ain't bubbling. If it's bubbling and spitting in the middle, your bottom's boiling. That's that gas coming up. You got to stir more. But it's not boiling. That cold meat out of that can being put in there. Dropping the temperature down, that hot rice, I'm still seeing a little bit of steam coming off. But it's not really ready. But listen to it. I think you can just hear that little bubbling. Now I'll give it a stir. Man, look at them hunks of meat. I mean, big old hunks of meat. And it smells like beef stew meat. You know, like a good can of really good beef stew. That's what the smell of that meat is. It's roast. Actual 100% beef roasted. Just like that. Give it a count. I like to count to 30, and then I like to stir it. Now on a cold day, it would take longer to heat up. On a warm day like today, when it's in the 90s, it'll heat up fairly quickly. I'm gonna take my spoon. This would be the point to taste it and see if it needs pepper, salt, anything else. That's good like it is. Rice is just a touch chewy, which is good because as it sits there and absorbs that heat, it'll finish. But now it's absorbing the flavor of the beef. So see, that's the reason I combined it this way. Now if I didn't have a lot of beef, let's say I had jerky. not the extruded jerky. In an upcoming video, I'll show you the difference between jerky that's real beef that's been turned into jerky and a ground paste that they call jerky. The real beef that's been turned into jerky, when you tear it in half, you see grains inside of it, like grain in wood, and that's the layers of the meat. If you tear it in half and it looks the same inside now that it's extruded, you can't do it. But that one that is like that, grains of wood, you can boil it and it turns back into beef like this. And so you can make a big pot of, excuse the aircraft, you can make a big pot of rice and flavor it with bouillon and hunks of boiled jerky. Easy to do. Yep. I think we're done. And there you have it. A nice big hearty meal with big hunks of beef in it. Rice, thick gravy. Now if you made you some bread on a stick, some biscuit dough you wrapped around a stick and put on the side of fire, you'd have bread to go with this. There'd be all kinds of customers. Pilot bread wouldn't be bad. Crackers wouldn't be bad. There's all kinds of stuff. You can add spices. Open up a can of those peas and carrots and dump it in now. Make it more like a stew. The difference, like we said in an earlier video, between a stew and a soup is how thick it is, how many ingredients it's got in it. Well, this is like a beef and rice stew. See, super simple. Now, let's recap. 1, you figure out that about a half a canteen cup of water to about, I would say, just around half of that boiling bag of rice was put in there. I then added 1 of those beef bouillon cubes. I let that come to a good hard rolling boil until the rice became tender enough to eat. Then I opened up my can of roast beef with gravy and put it in there and stirred it up. When I poured out the water, I didn't pour out all of it. I left some so that whenever I was pouring it down, it had got down shallow, and it was, you know, like the rice was back there and I got like a 50-cent piece of liquid at the front that I haven't quite poured out yet. So that left about, like a finger's worth of water in the bottom of it. That way when I put that beef and gravy in there, it acts as a thermal transfer. I can put it back on the heat and don't have to worry about it burning so easily. See, if I had just dumped that beef in there, I'd have to really worry about that burning because it's so thick. I'd have to stir a lot, regulate my heat. I dropped my simmer ring onto my Trangia. If I was doing this on a fire, I'd pull it off the coals, maybe rake the coals, little cooler coals, where the thermal mass of the cup and that rice helps heat up my beef, and I just would rotate it in and out, stirring and check it till this temperature came up to where I wanted. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you have, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Get out of my eyes. And there'll be another video coming up real soon. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.